Hi, I'm Steve Downing and this is a video blog about MEC 2012 and Exchange 2013. I should point out this is an unofficial video blog and it's no way endorsed or approved by Microsoft. My blog can be found at http://users.co.uk whack tech blog. For those of you who don't know what whack is, it's /. And you can find me at my users.co.uk website. The reason for this video blog or video pod or whatever you want to call it is because I just can't finish the blog article I've been trying to do, principally because there's too much to go in it. So I thought I'd give this a go instead and chuck it up on the web. What's it all about? What is MEC 2012 and why does it warrant me yakking on about it? Well, MEC stands for Microsoft Exchange Conference, although they've also now said it stands for Microsoft Exchange Community. I'm going to go with the former because I went to a conference, so that's what I mean for the purpose of this video blog. MEC 2012 because it's held this year, which is the year 2012, and the importance of it is that it's the first one for 10 years and there's a shiny new product on the shelves in time for the festive season. It's a video blog because there are visual elements to show you as well. If you've been looking at the screen, you'll have seen that I've already been showing some slides and graphics. MEC 2012 was held at Gaylord Palms Hotel in Orlando, Florida. That's the inside of the hotel. Pretty cool. The inside of the hotel is covered, and there's a schooner that doubles up as a bar on tropical looking waters and what looks like a Mayan temple or some kind of castle in the middle with a tropical forest and little alligators and loads of stuff. There's my room. There's the view from my balcony. I only went out there once just to take that picture. And the exhibition hall in the conference centre, that's attached to the hotel. It looks empty, but it wasn't a lot of the time. There were 1,500 or so people at the conference, and most of the time we were busy in breakout and interactive sessions. It kicked off on Monday the 24th of September, lasted for 3 days, with hundreds of sessions to attend. It wasn't cheap, but all in all, it was good value for money, and it was an experience that I wouldn't have passed up for all the char in China. Anyway, enough of the fluff around it. I'm going to dive into the Exchange content. Now, the conference wasn't solely Exchange 2013, but I was there for the new products, so that's what I'm going to talk about. The conference had a number of keynotes. Michael Atala, Director of Product Management for Exchange Server and Exchange Online, was the compere for the keynotes and gave an overview of Exchange 2013. If you're not familiar with Exchange, this is going to quickly lose you, so I'll assume my audience is savvy with Exchange 2007 and 2010. I'll also assume that you're not familiar with Exchange 2013 already. 2007 and 2010 have 5 server roles: Edge, CAS, Hub, Mailbox and With 2013, the Edge is still a standalone role. is no longer a role as its components are incorporated into every Mailbox server. The CAS role still exists, but it's different to the existing CAS. The Hub transport role has been broken down and now there's a front-end transport part on the CAS and the back-end transport on the Mailbox. With 2013, we're looking at 3 roles: Edge, CAS and Mailbox. This is because the architecture has changed. The aim of the Exchange team is to make the best use of the provision hardware and bring out the best return on investment. It's best summed up by what Ross Smith IV said when he said that there's some bean counter out there looking at the CAS server and saying, that's underutilized, that's a good candidate for virtualization, or that's a good candidate for installing apps on, which of course is not what we want. And the other message it came across was that the Exchange team made a mistake. They kind of overestimated the CAS and HTS requirements. They needed to address the high I/O requirements of Exchange 2003, and they did that by moving to 64-bit, whilst at the same time separating the roles to allow for high availability and flexibility in deployment scenarios. But they expected that the CAS would be more heavily utilised. Even with Exchange 2010, with the RPC client access array, they thought they'd need to maintain the role separation model. But we, as consultants, know that was not the case. We'd follow the design and sizing recommendations, but we'd tell our customers, trust me, it won't use all that CPU and RAM. I was pleased that I was deploying solutions that could cope with anything that was thrown at them. Well, now things have changed. There's been a store rewrite, changes to the architecture, so the back end handles all the fat protocols, and the result is that I/O is down. I mean, seriously down. From Exchange 2003, down 99%. Over to Ross.
So what's it look like in Exchange 2013? 99% reduction in I/O compared to 2003. What does that mean? Well, that means most likely a future version of the Exchange product will actually give you I/O back.
So what we have are clients that are pretty much all HTTP, load balancers to balance CAS servers, but don't do anything else. Just simple layer 4 load balancing. CAS servers that do authentication when they make an intelligent decision on which mailbox server to route the client to. All the work is done on the mailbox server. The client session is de-encapsulated and the client connection to the mailbox is achieved. With regards to transport, the CAS servers have front-end transport which handles the incoming messages and directs them to a member of the DAG. That's right, the DAG is now a target. Once it arrives at a DAG member, the message is in the system and will get handled by the back end of the transport service or safety net. All this means is that we need less resources on the CAS role, and it means that the Exchange team addresses another of its issues, versioning. Because all the actions that take place on the CAS server and the mailbox server are different and independent of one another, it means that the servers can be at different service pack levels or different update rollups. That's the background. Key changes in the mailbox role. Storage enhancements. The Exchange team not only support multiple databases per volume, but encourage it. And we should be doing multi-role now. Auto reseed, the same sort of thing we've been doing for years with RAID controllers and hot spare disks, but now at an OS and application level. Auto recovery, this is around already in 2010, it's been improved for 2013. Lagged copy enhancements. Lagged copies have been a pain to work with and recover from. Well, that's all over. Lagged copies have come of age. This slide is cut down. In a 2010 environment, we would have to reseed from a single source, and that has its restrictions regards to throughput. As you can see, the example of about 23 hours for a 2 terabyte database and 93 hours for an 8 terabyte database. The example shows 4 DAG servers with 4 database copies per disk, and because the reseeding takes place from multiple copies, we get an improved throughput from the remaining database servers, achieving about 9.7, or should we call that 10 hours for a 2 terabyte disk, and 39 hours for an 8 terabyte disk. Note the differences. We're talking about 2 terabytes and 8 terabyte disks with multiple databases on them, and that's reduced reseed time. The other key change here is the I/O. With 2010, the passive I/O is equal to the active I/O. That was because the low checkpoint depth and the aggressive pre-reading of data in order to achieve fast failover. Because of the changes in 2013, the checkpoint depth on the passive copy is now same as on the active copy. That is 100 megabytes. The pre-reading has been detuned. You just love words like that. I/O for the passive copy is down to 50% of the I/O for the active copy, and failover is twice as fast. I always wondered why washing detergent manufacturers can bring out their new improved version and get your clothes twice as clean in half the temperature. It makes sense when you look at it from this angle, because there's a lot of if we knew then what we know now. Auto reseed. The idea here is that you configure your Exchange volumes and your Exchange DBs and define volumes as spares. This is like hot spares in a hardware RAID configuration or in a SAN config. By using mount points for your DAG databases and volumes, Exchange can automatically recover a failed volume with a spare and reseed automatically. One of the goals here is to try and ensure that the Exchange guy doesn't get woken in the middle of the night to fix something that could quite easily fix itself. I'm all for planned overtime instead of unplanned overtime. Auto recovery. In addition to the basic thresholds in 2010, we've got some more in 2013. You can read about these on the Exchange team blog, blogs.technet.com, whack-b, whack-exchange. In fact, you don't need the whack-b, you can just do blogs.technet.com, whack-exchange, and it will redirect you. And just drill down to September 2012 and there's a good blog by Scott Schnoll. Lagged copies. These have come of age. If you've ever had to recover from lagged copies in 2010, you'll be delighted this has received attention. It interacts with SafetyNet, which is a much enhanced replacement for the transport dumpster, and shadow redundancy. By default, SafetyNet holds on to messages for 2 days, and you could and should configure this in accordance with your lagged copy retention period. High availability enhancements, managed availability, built-in monitoring and recovery. Best copy and server selection, which uses managed availability to perform intelligent assessment and decisions regarding database recovery. Maintenance mode, which does what it says on the tin, allows you to take a server out of the equation. And DAG network autoconfig, in which DAG networks are managed automatically. Managed availability will monitor not just the server but services and protocols too, and can carry out various automatic defined steps. It's configurable so you can fine-tune according to your own needs. It won't make coffee for you or get you lunch, but maybe in a future version when we get that I/O back, who knows. Single copy alert, something that's available with 2010 with the check database redundancy PowerShell script released back in May 2010. Now built into 2013 but enhanced, and best copy and server selection, in which Active Manager makes some clever decisions regarding the best database copy to activate when the active database copy fails. This really is a simplified summary of the features, so if you want to examine the content in more detail, you'll need to be pausing this video from time to time. The concise version has been released by the Exchange team. As I said before, start the Exchange team blog page or use a search engine to track down the appropriate TechNet blog. Maintenance mode properly takes the server out of the equation and allows the rest of the servers in the Exchange environment to be aware. A mailbox server in maintenance mode moves all the active database copies to another server and prevents them being moved back again, and takes the transport components offline. A CAS server in maintenance mode stops proxying or servicing clients. DAG network autoconfig. This is similar to the auto cluster configuration in Windows 2008 R2. You get the initial configuration right on the networks with regards to things like default gateway and registering in DNS, and then the rest is taken care of for you. You can override the automatic behavior if you need to as well. Site resilience. I went to an interactive session hosted by Scott Schnoll and Greg Thiel, and the session got bogged down with DNS and GeoDNS rather than the actual planned subject of planning and deploying site resiliency. Not their fault, it was the audience steering the session. In 2013, recovery is automatic, with support for a single DNS namespace that supports multiple DNS and GeoDNS. Site resiliency options are simplified. Basically, certificates are simplified. The namespace is no longer a single point of failure. There's no more hanging around waiting for DNS to update or having to do any funky stuff with DNS and TTLs. The recommendation for site resilience is 3 geographical locations, so that the witness server is separated geographically from the Exchange servers, but well connected. This isn't the only supported deployment, but this is how you should do it to achieve automatic failover. I'm going to come back to managed availability because it's at the heart of a lot of what I've been talking about. Managed availability looks not just at the back end of things, server health, but also the client experience. So there are a number of checks that take place using probes. Once a check is run and a condition is determined, it's then handled by a responder which determines what action should be taken. But also includes the customer touch point, so actually looking at the experience for the client.